Hello, dear students. I am Dr. Shikha Pandey, Associate Professor from Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. Today, I am going to discuss about the classification of waste. As in this waste management lecture series, today I will discuss about the classification of waste. Means the generation, the types, and the on the basis of its characteristics, it's different types. So today we will discuss about the two waste, that is domestic waste and industrial waste. Let's start the discussion with the basics of solid waste. Like, what is solid waste? So solid waste, we can define it as like any unwanted matter, any unwanted thing which is not much useful now from the first owner viewpoint. This is called as solid waste. It can be defined it as the any unwanted matter which is generated by the society, and that will not have much economic value or from the first owner point. This is called as solid waste. So, and one more thing, this waste we cannot define properly, because waste is not the waste. Waste doesn't mean that anything which is not much useful. Then on the other side, we are talking about the waste from energy from waste, waste recycling, waste reuse, and on the other side, we are saying that waste is an unwanted material. So the word waste is itself a very complex meaning. It's itself a very typical meaning. So because nothing is waste, because we are already talking about energy from waste, we are taking energy from this waste, we are extracting energy for electricity purpose, we are extracting this waste for making manure or compost, and so that anything is not waste. But as for a general meaning, as for a general understanding, we can say that waste, we can define it as like any unwanted matter that is generated by the society and now which does not have any economic value from the first view of the first owner, is called as waste. And our Prime Minister has initiated a waste management program, that is Swachh Bharat Mission. And this waste management is a very important topic in this era, because we are talking about smart city, we are talking about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So for all these things, smart city is not possible without this waste management practices. So comes to the statistics about this waste generation. So India, the per capita waste generation in India is 0.5 to 2.5 kg per day. Means a normal individual can produce waste from 0.25 to 2.5 kg per day. So this is the waste generation capacity of India. So and we already know that waste has it has a very great future. If we will harness energy from this waste, then this waste will not be a waste, then it will be turned into a resource. So this is a very longest journey between the journey of a waste to its resource. And that's why this solid waste management is a very important. That's why we are studying about the classification of waste, and from its generation point, from its origin point, from its nature, on everything we'll discuss about the types and classification of waste. And next thing is that solid waste management can be defined as the discipline that part that is associated with its control, generation, storage, collection, transport, and transfer. Then its processing, disposal of waste is so that it will not address any harmful effect the public health. It will be useful for the conservation, economic, aesthetic value, from every point of value, and other environmental consideration is all these things. By considering all these aspects, we can call it as the solid waste management. And solid waste management is the greatest approach that will consist of its conversion of waste to a resource, taking energy from waste, and from its first point to its disposal point, like from its generation to its storage, then collection, then transport or transfer, processing, and disposal of solid waste in a way that will address the issues of public health, conservation, economic, aesthetic, engineering, and other environmental consideration is called as solid waste management, SWM. It is the greatest approach that will consist of everything that will make it environment friendly, that will make it good concern for the public health, that will lead to conservation, that will be economic also, that will be aesthetic also, is called as waste management. Now comes to the next point. This is about the classification of waste. Generally, we can classify on the basis of its generation, like first is the municipal solid waste. Municipal solid waste is those waste that is generated from a residential activity, residential area. Residential area household waste is comes under the category of municipal solid waste. Next is industrial solid waste is generated by the industry. Those waste that will be generated by a larger scale industry or a small scale industry is called as industrial waste. Hazardous waste are those waste that is having a hazardous characteristics, that will be a dangerous, means those waste that will possess the category characteristics like it will be more toxic, it will be more inflammable. Like inflammable means it will be catches fire very easily, it will be corrosive in nature, it will be infectious in nature. So those waste that consist of all these characteristics is called as hazardous waste. And the example of this hazardous waste is a radioactive waste. Next is the biomedical waste. Biomedical waste is again a very hazardous waste and it is a very dangerous waste. Biomedical waste is generated from the hospitals, nursing home is called, those waste that will be generated from a hospital or nursing home is called as biomedical waste. Next is the agriculture waste. Agriculture waste is generated from the agriculture activity. Next is the mining waste. Mining waste is generated from the mine area, like iron mines, copper mines. And the agriculture waste is basically organic in nature. So by the process of decomposition, we can use this agriculture waste into the compost or manure. Like that, biomedical waste is a very much dangerous waste because it is infectious in nature. It will consist of syringe, cotton, all these things. And so it's a proper disposal, proper management is very much important. Like that, hazardous waste is there. Hazardous waste is generated from the nuclear power plant. So it's a handling, it's a storage, it's a transportation is very much important. So all these things are considered under the category of this solid waste management. That's why this solid waste management we are studying. And on the basis of waste generation, we are classifying the waste into these 5 categories. Now comes to the next point. This is about on the basis of its characteristics. On the basis of its characteristics, the solid waste is of 2 types. First is biodegradable waste and non-biodegradable waste. Biodegradable waste is those waste that can degrade easily. And non-biodegradable are that cannot be degradable by itself. Not degrade by itself is called as non-biodegradable waste. So if we'll talk about the definition, example of biodegradable waste is the paper, cardboard. And if we'll talk about the example of this non-biodegradable waste, it's construction waste, demolition waste, debris. All these are coming under the category of non-biodegradable waste. Now comes to the more detail about this biodegradable waste, means those waste that comes from our kitchen. Those waste that is coming from kitchen, and it includes the food remains like garden waste, etc., is called as biodegradable waste. Means food that is coming from kitchen waste is basically what? Vegetable peels, some leftover food. So this waste can be of organic in nature. It can be biodegradable by the anaerobic bacterial process, and we can convert it into the electricity generation or biogas plant. Next point is that this can be composted to obtain the manure, and biodegradable waste decompose themselves over a period of time depending on the material. Means this waste will decompose themselves after some time. Like that comes to the next category, that is non-biodegradable waste. Means these are the old newspaper and these are not decomposed by themselves, and it is a great source of pollutants. So those waste like non-biodegradable waste, we can say that these waste are very much dangerous, and it is needs to be concerned on these points, like it cannot be decomposed by themselves, and hence it is a major pollutants. Like that, biodegradable waste is having no problem because it is the mainly the food waste, it is the vegetable peels or some leftover foods. So this can be decomposed by themselves over some period of time depending on the material, and non-biodegradable cannot be degraded, and it will be present in the soil. It will be accumulated inside the soil, like plastic is there, plastic will be accumulated inside the soil, it cannot be degraded, and after many years due to the rain, leaching will be there and everything will be there, it will enters the food chain also. So this is called as non-biodegradable waste, and non-biodegradable waste is a major pollutants also. So the on the basis of origin, waste classification by the basis of origin means from where it is originated. So as we discussed that mining waste will be originated by the mining activity, like waste rock, tailing is there, mine water is there, chemicals is there, and all these waste that from that will be coming by the mining activity, like waste rock, tailing, mine water, chemicals and others is called as mining waste. All these waste are there. Next is the agriculture or forestry waste, means it is the absolute pesticides is there. Nature of this agriculture waste is like, first one is about, it is a basically it is a pesticides and fertilizers. Next is the some organics is there, like some leftover residue, food residue is there. Next is the plastic and containers are there, manures is there, slaughter and other space. So all these waste that is coming from agriculture activity, forestry activity is basically organic in nature. Next is the industry waste. So industry is having textile industry, plastic is there, chemical, some paint industry is there, fly ash will come from thermal power plants, nuclear waste is there from nuclear power activity, and other waste is there. So all are coming by the industrial activity is called as industrial waste, and it's an example as we have already discussed there, like textile is there, plastic is there, chemicals are there, ash is there, fly ash, it will be coming from thermal power plant. So fly ash is again an industrial waste. Next is the household and commercial and government bodies, that is municipal solid waste. Municipal solid waste has its origin from any household activity, any commercial space or any government bodies, and its example is the municipal solid waste. Electronics items there, some medical waste is also there, tires is there, and others too much like paper, cardboard, much waste is there. So these are the origin of all this waste is the household, commercial and government bodies. Next is the construction and demolition waste that will be coming from construction or demolition. So its example is some concrete is there, plastic is there, wood, metal, glass and others waste are there. So all these waste is coming from the construction activity. Next is the wastewater treatment plant. From wastewater treatment plants, all waste are generated, that is called as sewage sludge, solid waste, chemicals and other. So on the basis of activity, on the basis of its generation, broadly waste has been classified in the 6 category. First one is the mining waste, agriculture waste, industry waste, household, commercial and government bodies, construction waste and wastewater treatment. So all these residue, all the waste that is coming from all these activity is waste. We can say that we have divided it on the basis of its origin. Means waste, classification of waste on the basis of the origin of the waste. Now comes to the next point. This we are going to discuss about the classification of the waste on the basis of its toxicity. Toxic level, on the basis of its toxic level. Means how much it is harmful level. So because if we will divide the waste on the basis of its different level, then we can approach good waste management practices for that particular waste. Because of that only we'll get idea about the which management practice is best for this waste, and which processing should be there, or what treatment should be adopted for that particular kind of waste. So first is the waste will be first broadest categories there, that is hazardous or non-hazardous, means on the basis of its nature, on the basis of its toxicity. So first one is the hazardous and non-hazardous. So what is hazardous waste? So those waste that is containing the characteristics like that is very ignitable in nature, that will be very corrosive in nature, that is very toxic in nature, infectious in nature, are called as hazardous waste. Means those waste that is very toxic, corrosive, ignitive, and having very high acidic condition, high acidic. So all these four category is there for a hazardous waste. If any waste possesses any of these characteristics, it is called as hazardous waste. Like that, other thing is there that is non-hazardous. So for the handling of hazardous waste, handling is very dangerous. So for its handling of that, we have categorized waste into two types. First one is the radioactive waste is there. Radioactive waste is coming from thermal nuclear power plant. And its example is uranium-235, uranium-236, and likewise industrial waste is there. So industrial waste is also a hazardous waste, and what is containing in this waste is first one is the electronic waste, some medical waste, all are coming under the hazardous waste category. So now comes to the next side, that is non-hazardous. So from non-hazardous, two categories is there. First one is the MSW, municipal solid waste, and other non-hazardous is the industrial waste. So MSW is a municipal solid waste and non-hazardous waste. So in MSW, three waste is there. First one is the organic waste, then packaging waste. Packaging is the basically paper waste, and the other material, that is glass, plastic, metals is there. So for this, because of this waste management approach, this classification is very much important, because on the basis of classification, on the basis of its characteristics, we should know that which method is good for its treatment and processing. So for municipal solid waste, organic waste is there. So as we know, for organic waste, composting is the best option. Composting is the best option. And packaging and cardboard packaging waste, we can go for reuse and recycle. Likewise, this other material waste is also recycle, we can do for this kind of waste. And some non-hazardous waste, some other waste is there from that is also coming under the category of industrial waste. Means industrial waste that is non-hazardous is also coming under this category. Means those waste that is non-hazardous also. So if we will adopt a proper measure, if we will adopt its proper classification, then only this waste management approach should be successful. Though then only we can go which method is best for this waste generation. Then only the person who is handling the waste should have what precaution they have to take in for its proper disposal, for its proper management is important. So this was about the classification of waste on the basis of toxicity. Now comes to the next thing. This is about the solid waste management system. Means it is a schematic view of management of solid waste. So this is the waste management approach, solid waste management approach. So first, what is there? That is the generation point is there. Then its storage is there. So after it's a classification. Either we will classify it on the basis of its origin, on the basis of its toxic level. So better to classify it on its basis of its toxic level. Then only we'll do this process. Then only a waste management practices should be passed by this process. So generation is there, then storage of waste into a particular place, then collection and transportation, then processing and recovery. Either transport or means it should be processed or it should be recovered. Means it should be recycled or it should be processed to generate some manure or to generate some electricity. Then final point is that it is disposal of this solid waste. Now comes to the domestic waste, means the nature of domestic waste. What is in this domestic waste? It is also called as urban waste. In urban waste, the waste which is the most important component of municipal solid waste. So it is called as, the example of this domestic waste is the some food waste is there, plastic waste, glass waste, metal, plastic, textile is there. And the very large part of domestic waste consists of plant and animals like vegetable, fruit peel, bones and meat waste, and chicken and fish waste, which are considered as wet waste. So this domestic waste is categorized under two categories. First is the dry waste, and next is the wet waste. So in dry waste, we'll keep all those things that will be dry from any household activity. So dry thing is like that, those that is paper waste, fruit peel, all these things, and some meat waste like chicken, fish, which is considered as wet waste. So this is the segregation or collection of waste at the household level. If we will adopt this methods from at lower level, from our household level, then only this waste management practices should be successful. Paper and cardboard, newspaper waste, books, notebook, and wrapping paper also make up another largest portion of the waste. Plastic disposal, dishes, toy, metal, and glass can be the another part of domestic waste. So means most of the waste that is generated by our activity, household activity, is coming under the domestic waste. Now we'll discuss about the scenario of this solid waste management in India. So India is the second largest nation in the world with a population of 1.21 billion, which is accounting nearly 18% of the human world population. Means total population of the world, 18% is present in India only. India only contributing to total 18% of the population. The portion of population residing in urban area has increased from 27.8% to 31% in 2011, and likely to reach 50% by 2030. So the pace it is increasing is going to be increased in the coming future by up to 50%, in 2030. And India is facing a sharp contrast between its increasing urban population and available services and resources. That's why this solid waste management is one such service India has an enormous gap to fill, because this solid waste management is not at all implemented in India as a whole. So it is estimated that the urban India generates about 1.5 lakhs tons of waste per day. So this solid waste management in India is a very longest processes, and its management practices is too much lacking in our country because of this non-availability of services and resources. That's why our country is among the very highest populous country, so that this waste management practices should be adopted, and it should be implemented in a it should be implemented. That's why we can adopt the solid waste management practices in India. Now comes to its a generation, like we have already discussed that from previously from 0.44 kg per day in 2001, and now it has been increased to half kg per day in the year 2011. Half kg of solid waste generated per capita. And waste generation in India in the cities range from 200 to 870 grams per day, and depending upon the region's lifestyle and the size of the city, the per capita waste generation is increased by about 1.3% per year in India. Due to this modern lifestyle, and all this way of living, and this carbon generation point of view, this municipal solid waste generation has been increased about 1.3% per year in India. Now comes to the sources. What are the sources of generation of this solid waste? From where this solid waste is generated? So this has been produced since the beginning of civilization, but the disposal of solid waste has been increased So the sources of solid waste generation, from where this what are the sources of this solid waste generation? As we know, this the generation of solid waste is a very old, and it should be generated from the area of the civilization also. So the disposal of solid waste has been increased due to the rapid development in industrialization and urbanization. And the factor for which generation of more solid waste is the high population density, intensive land use and residential area, commercial and industrial activity. So these three are the reason behind more generation of solid waste. So first of all, it is the high population density is there, intensive land use for residential activity, commercial and industrial activities. These are the factors that is generating more solid waste. And the generation of municipal solid waste is the generation of municipal solid waste is municipal solid waste is the residential quarter, means residential area, some commercial space, institution, public places, open areas, streets, parks, playground. These are the reasons, these are the areas from where this solid waste municipal solid waste is generating at a very high stage, at a very high pace. And the factors, they are the factor which is responsible for the more solid waste generation. So first one is about the high population density, intensive land use for residential activities, commercial and industrial activities. Now, the method which we can adopt for this municipal solid waste. For the municipal solid waste, this composting should be there, because of the composting is the only method that will convert the organic matter of household waste, that is kitchen waste into a manure by the activity of some aerobic or anaerobic bacteria by a biochemical processes, and it will convert it into the humus. Humus is a manure. So the kitchen waste is converted to manure by the activity of aerobic bacteria, and it is divided into the three. This composting operation is of three types. First one is the preparation of agriculture waste. First, we'll prepare the agriculture waste to put into the composting bin. Next is the decomposition of this organic waste, agriculture waste, by the bacteria, aerobic bacteria or anaerobic bacteria. And then product preparation and its marketing. Product preparation like preparation of manure and marketing it. So this now here we can say that we are getting benefits from the waste. So waste is not at all a waste now. Waste is converted into a resource, and this manure is a very good thing for the crop generation, because it will be organic in nature. So no chemical is there. That's why this is a very, very good thing to utilize waste for the composting process. Next is the waste to energy. Waste to energy facilities accept our solid waste and combust or burn it at a very high temperature. And producing heat. That heat is used to convert water into steam. The steam is used to run turbines and then generate the electricity. So this steam will use to run the turbines, and this turbine is going to generate electricity. And the scrubber, filters and other pollution control equipments, that is going to reduce pollutants released during the incineration process. Ash and other residue from these processes are landfill. So though the ash that will be obtained by these processes, it is a landfill, and its toxicity will be reduced. And over 27% of the municipal solid waste are combusted in the year 2050. Here is the picturization of this waste to energy that is there. So first of all, waste is there, and then waste is going to the waste collection by the transportation active, and then it will reach to the plant, and where the waste is converted to heat and processes is there, and then with that energy, fuel is obtained, gas is obtained, electricity is obtained. So this waste to energy is a very good method to utilize the waste for the energy processes. So then the waste will not be waste. We can say it will be turned into the resource. Waste is converted into the resource. Now comes to the next thing, that is the health risk that is associated with the domestic waste. Means if we will not do the proper management of this domestic waste, urban waste, these are the some side effects that is associated with this solid waste. That is, first is some rats are there, cockroach and pigeons have there, and they have the very high risk of transmission of disease called as leprospirosis. Next is the some ventilation, due to lack of ventilation in the recycling centers, that is causing some disease, a very dangerous disease related with the respiratory and pulmonary diseases. Next is the littering and discarded household waste is there, that is particularly plastic in container with hazardous content. This is going to affect animals and environmental health. And some sharp metals is there, that will be pieces, metal pieces there, broken glass is there, that is from tubes, and it is mixed with household waste, and sometimes it will be mixed with the household waste and it can originate cut. It will create injury to the person that is holding, that is the person who is handling this solid waste. So these are the some of the health risks that is associated with this municipal solid waste. Next, we are going to discuss about the industrial waste. Industrial waste is the waste that is generated by the industrial activity like chemical industry, metal and mineral processing industries. Radioactive waste are generated by nuclear power plant. Thermal power plant produces fly ash. Chemical industries produces large quantities of hazardous and toxic material. Other industries like they are producing packing material, rubbish, organic waste, and like acid, alkali, scrap metals, rubber, plastic, paper, glass, wood, oil, paints, dyes. So these are the waste that is generated by the industrial activity. It's called as industrial waste. Now comes to the hazardous waste. Some hazardous waste is there. What is hazardous waste is also associated with the industrial waste. So what is this? It is any type of solid waste or combination of waste that process that consists of substantial danger as for now or in future to human beings and plants, animals, and cannot be handled or disposed. So, and its example is the disposal syringes from hospitals and other specific sources is called as hazardous waste management. Hazardous solid waste, some ignitable material is there, like that is those materials that can catches fire very easily. Corrosive materials is there like iron rod and pieces. Some those which is a very reactive in nature also. This will be going a very high rapid reaction with water and other substances, and it will be release toxic gases. Toxic materials which is consist of lead and arsenic. So all these are the examples of this hazardous waste, and this hazardous waste is also categorized from the industrial waste. Now we can say that for the industrial waste it is also of two types, like for biodegradable and non-biodegradable. Biodegradable, non-biodegradable. So biodegradable are those industrial waste which can be decomposed into non-poisonous material by the action of certain microorganisms are called as biodegradable waste. These kind of waste are generated from the food processing unit like dairy farm, some textile industry, some mills or some slaughterhouse, and its example are the paper, leather, wools, animal bones, wheat, etc. Non-biodegradable means it cannot be degraded, it cannot be decomposed into non-poisonous substance, and they are generated by the iron or steel plant, fertilizer industry, chemical, drugs and dye industries. And its example is the fly ash, synthetic fiber, gypsum, soil, glass, radioactive waste, etc. These are categorized under the non-biodegradable. Industrial waste which is non-biodegradable, industrial waste which is biodegradable. So these are some of the health risks that is associated with the industrial waste. So its proper handling is very important. So the health risk that is associated with the industrial waste is first of all is the skin contact. If any chemical come in the contact with the skin, it is causing dermatitis. Dermatitis, it is a skin infection which will be originated through the direct skin contact. And some chemicals like corrosive acid is there, it can going to damage the skin by a single contact, while other like organic solvent may causes damage by repeated exposure. Next is the inhalation. Through the inhalation process, inhalation is the most common source of workplace exposure to chemicals, and most difficult to control. And the pollutant can be directly damage respiratory tract and gets absorbed through the lungs and causes system and systematic effect. Ingestion. By the process of ingestion, what will happen? Groundwater and subsoil water contamination from leachate and from refuse dams, from solid waste dumping area, and poorly managed landfill site can release into the ingestion of toxic chemicals. Like this toxic chemical will consist of some highly dangerous toxic metals like arsenic is there, fluoride is there, mercury is there, that will be leached out into a groundwater, and people are now use this water for the drinking purposes. So this is about the ingestion of this industrial solid waste. So this in this lecture, we have discussed about the classification of waste on the basis of its origin, on the basis of its toxicity, so and on the basis of its degradable properties, its decomposition properties, and we have already discussed about the conversion of waste to energy, and conversion of agriculture or domestic waste by the process of composting to manure, etc. So if you have any queries on or any question regarding this lecture, you can comment in the comment box, or you can write a mail in my given id shikha.pandey@gmail.com. Thank you for listening my lecture, and if you have any feedback, you can also give me. You are most welcome, and thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.